Hey there, my name's Ryan Van Tuyl from the Tuyl Music Foundation, and today I'm going to talk to the beginner people learning to play bass guitar about the difference between reading bass tab, which is the most commonly form used of music for bass, versus standard notation or reading music. One of the most commonly used questions I get from parents of kids learning how to play bass guitar or adults learning to play bass guitar is, hey, I heard that I have to learn how to read music, and if I can't read music, then I'm not a real musician. Stop right there. That is the most outdated, incorrect piece of information that you could possibly fathom about learning how to play music. It has nothing to do with your ability as a musician. Some of the greatest musicians of all time cannot read music. Let's keep that in mind. But let me explain to you why learning how to read standard notation is so outdated and so unnecessary for you as a beginner musician. Now, keep in mind, me as a professional, I know how to read music. Okay, I studied it all the way through college. I practice it still today because I want to be an elite level musician. But you do not need to learn it as a beginner musician. Now, let me explain to you why. So let's say you come into me for a lesson. Your first bass guitar lesson you've never played before, and you tell me that line. You're like, hey, I'm so excited. I got my bass guitar here. I'm ready to learn the bass, but I have to learn how to read standard notation. Why? Because someone told me that if I don't learn how to read standard notation, then I'm not a real musician. And I try to talk you out of it, and you say no, but you're determined to say, okay, great. Well, let's do this. Let's set our bass guitar down, because now we're going to talk about reading music for probably the next 30 minutes, and you're still not going to understand it when we're done. And then I'll explain to you this. If you are determined to learn how to read standard notation before learning how to play the bass, I'm going to say, well, let me ask you a question. Do you speak Japanese? And you're going to say to me, most likely, unless you're Japanese, you're going to say, no, I don't. I said, okay, well, the bad news is I have to teach you how to speak Japanese first before I can teach you the bass guitar. And we're only going to communicate about the bass guitar in Japanese. Why is that? Because standard notation is its own language. It's its own musical language that is great and beautiful and wonderful, but it's not necessary for learning how to play the bass guitar. But you say, I don't care, Ryan. Someone told me this. I believe this person. I'm going to learn how to read music because I'm a true musician. Fine, great, I'm in. Okay, set your bass guitar down. Let's talk about standard notation. So first thing we're going to learn is we're going to learn what these lines and spaces here on the staff mean, what the music alphabet is. What is this symbol? It's called a sharp. All of these things. What's this? What are all these little lines and beams and stems? What are all those things? We're 30 minutes in. We still have not touched our instrument. We haven't played yet because you're still trying to fathom this super confusing language of standard notation. But let's say we're taking an hour-long lesson and we finally get there. And now, just to save time, we're going to label all the notes in here. By the way, this is the same music on top and bottom here. Okay, so this first note, let's see, we have an E, and then we have another E, and then we have G sharp, and then we have B, and then we have right here another B, and then we have C sharp, and then we have another E. Okay, so we finally figured out, okay, these are where the notes are. Great. Okay, let's pick up our bass, and let me go ahead and go over here to my bass guitar so you can see it. Okay, so now we have to figure out, well, where are those notes that we just spent 30 or 45 minutes learning on standard notation? Where are they on the actual bass? And I'm going to say, okay, well, first of all, this E, there's an E here. Okay, that is that first E. There's also the same E here, and there's the same E here. Well, how do I know which one to play? Well, if you're doing this on your own, you're not going to know. So maybe you start with this E here, and then you go to this G sharp here, and this B here. Now, I'm talking fast because I'm just doing an explanation, okay? But you play this, and then, wow, this is really hard. Okay, well, this sounds really different, and then there's this. There's all these different ways to play the exact same notes that I just played that are those notes there on your screen. Now, that is confusing, and not only that, but it may be hard to hear through YouTube, but if we were in the same room together, I'd be able to demonstrate you that this and this and this and this and this and this, they all have completely different different sounds, completely different textures, completely different feels. They're all unique. So the thing is about standard notation is that you can play the correct notes and it can still be wrong because you're not playing it correctly related to the song you're learning, because they all sound different. They have different feels. Now, let's say you say, oh man, okay, that was so hard. Gosh, I'm sweating just trying to learn all this stuff. Let's try tab. Okay, well, let me explain to you how to read tab. Let's get these notes out of the way. Okay, really simple. We have 4 lines. The 4 lines here represent the 4 strings. Now, here's the only confusing part about tab. There's only one part that's confusing, and that's it. It's that the top line here, this very top line right here, is string number 1, which on our bass is the string closest to the ground. So it's flipped. It's upside down. That's it. From there, you just read down 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 lines are the 4 strings. Wow, that's pretty simple. 4 lines, 4 strings. Remember that this string all the way down here is the string all the way on top here, like I pointed out. Remember that this string way down here is the top string on our actual bass. That's it. That's the only confusing thing. From there, it gets even easier. Okay, well, I play on the 7th fret, the 7th fret again, the 11th fret on the same string. So if I go back over here to my bass camera, I play the 7th fret, the 7th fret, the 11th fret. Now I've moved to the next string, the 9th fret on the 2nd string, right here. And then I play the same note again, 9 again. And then I play the 11th fret on the same string. And then I play the 9th fret on the top string. So I've just taught you the notes. Now, there's also rhythmic notation that I've added in here if you want to learn how to read rhythm, which I highly recommend. Rhythm is super important. It gives us all our feel, all our timing. But you don't even need that with tab. You could just listen to me play this and then repeat it back to me, and then you're going to know how it should sound. So that's how simple bass guitar tab is. And here's that riff. This is the correct play. This little line that I've just played, I can't even tell you the name of the song I got it from because it's been in so many songs. But if you played that line this way, it would not be right. It would be wrong. I'd look at you and be like, no, you're playing that wrong. Let me show you how to play it a better way. So that is why, as a beginner musician, learn how to read bass tab. Do not learn how to read standard notation. It's going to be so much more productive, more efficient, and more useful for you because you're going to learn the actual phrases that us bass players play every day, in every song, in rock, pop, blues, jazz, funk, metal, every style of music, even classical. We're learning how to play these same riffs, and we're playing them in the same spaces, same positions. Guitar and bass, they're very position-oriented. It's unlike any other instrument. So, learn how to read bass tab. Let's get a gong for a great lesson. If you like what we have to say about music, please subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next lesson.